Good afternoon, everyone. Pleasure being here, and I appreciate the opportunity to spending the time to share with you about an important aspect of cloud security that I'd like to share. I run product management for CyberArk, as Michal mentioned, and at the end of the session, if the clock thing will not blink on us, I will say 30 seconds about who's CyberArk for those of you who do not know us. So, what are we here to talk about? One of the things that we believe is of huge importance to adopting cloud technologies and DevOps technologies are what we call privileged accounts. And privileged accounts are really the keys to the kingdom, or keys to the cloud kingdom, if you will. Now, just for the sake of definition, the privileged accounts are those accounts that exist on every piece of equipment that you have, every software application, every system that you have, that basically allow to manage and operate and control and administer that system. By design, those privileged accounts allow the people who get hold of them to do whatever they want, okay? Without restrictions, without limitations, without the application filtering their privileges, whatever they want. Okay, so that's why they're called the keys to the kingdom. Now, on a good day, in a good and normal usage, it's your IT teams or your developers who need to use them in order to do their job and in order to operate, develop applications or manage the IT infrastructure. But when bad things happen, and there's a ton of research that was done to document that and to measure that, it seems that in almost all the attacks that you've heard of, or you've investigated, or we've investigated, one of the steps that the attackers went through is to compromise credentials, and especially privileged accounts, as that allow, when you look at the risk of external attackers, that of course gives the attacker the way in. Fast, covering everything, hard to detect, hard to prevent. So that's why it's something that attackers go after. But of course, insiders as well. Insiders don't have to break the perimeter to get into your organization. They're already on the inside. They may already have the right to use privileged accounts to do good things, but on the occasions that they choose to do bad things, privileged accounts are a way to help them do that. Now, in CyberArk, one of the things that we look at when we talk about protecting privileged accounts is really to come at it with the approach of the attacker. So, first of all, we hire a lot of attackers working for us on research to help us understand how attackers go about compromising networks. Now, especially in cloud, and this is the focus of the topic today, especially in cloud, there's a lot of new things that are more attractive to attackers when it comes to privileged account and controlling the keys to your cloud kingdom. If you just think of a few examples, in cloud deployments, especially those that follow DevOps methodologies, you have more people who have access on a daily basis to the actual production data and production system. It's the entire DevOps team or it's just a larger team. Unlike in the on-premise world, you had kind of separation. This is my development, and then there's a process, and moving to production where there's a smaller, more controlled process. With DevOps, it's all automatic. It's all happening all the time. So there are more people to go after if you want to compromise the organizations. There's also a lot more tools. All the DevOps tools and technologies that are being used and being adopted, again, not that saying anything wrong with them, but they're new. And because they are new, there is what you can assume as the normal maturity curve from a security point of view of new technologies. Okay, that initially there are just more holes in them. Over time, mature technologies fix their holes, fix their security issues, but there is so much new technology out there governing the DevOps processes, there are just more holes and more places to poke holes on. And just for the sake of example, one of the things that we do for organizations will also help with red team exercises. Now, a lot of organizations, a lot of you, I'm sure, are red teaming your own network. And in case you're not red teaming your network, please do. And it's important to take away. It really tells you where you stand. And one of the important first step is understanding where you really are. So this is just an example of what it means to have privileged accounts exposed in a cloud scenario. So this scenario starts with the attackers phishing users. As you know, phishing eventually works. Once a person from the DevOps team was compromised, the attackers found the root account to AWS on their desktop. Once they had that key, they connected to AWS, exploited, basically just cloned the servers to the side, and that's it. Now they have a copy of any server that they want from the organization. And again, it was a very quick process. Now, some of you may think this is too easy. This is a made-up example, and it's too easy. It is on the medium side of easy, but it's definitely not too easy, and it's definitely something that a lot of organizations we've seen would be compromised with the same thing. So what can you do? We would like to, we can talk about it for hours, but just 4 high-level takeaway points that we'll cover that can help you get started. The first one is really discover and measure risks. There are many solutions and tools that allow you to scan and find the privileged accounts and the keys and the access keys that exist in your environment that allow control over cloud assets, over applications, over hard-coded credentials in applications connecting to a production database. You can search for them, you can find them, okay? You'll get lists. The important thing is then to prioritize. Which one of them are really important? Which one of them are really putting you at risk? Start by understanding and mapping the solution. Second thing we recommend is look at your cloud management consoles as the same as you do for your on-premise and having access to your physical data centers. Normally you would have some stronger controls and measures before someone can get into your physical data center. Not all of you will have handprint, fingerprint type solution, but you would have some stronger controls. But with the cloud management tools, sometimes it's just a file, which is an access key, and anyone who has that key can access your cloud console immediately, directly, and do whatever they want to the entire data center. This is something that is one of the first things to look at and secure. The third one is when you look at, okay, what should my security policy be and what should my controls be? We definitely recommend looking at it from a heterogeneous point of view. If you have different security controls for your on-premise than you do for the cloud, then you're just delaying some of the agility and flexibility down the road. Imagine you have an on-premise application and you want to migrate it to the cloud. It's not just all the, some adaptation of the technology and the ops around it, but suddenly you have to, manage credentials differently. You have to manage other aspects that will, can delay that migration. So ideally, if you think as a broad strategy about your security and controls, you will also allow migration to the cloud without the need to reinvent security and controls every time and every application that you're considering moving to the cloud. And finally, one of the more important recommendations that we can make is look at securing the credentials and the secrets that applications are using. What you're seeing here is a before example, just a snippet code from an application that basically has hard-coded username and passwords that it needs in order to connect to a database. It can have multiple forms, this challenge. It could be a configuration file, it could be hard-coded in source code, it could be scripted. Either way, this is credentials just waiting for anyone who can see your source code to see, steal, go directly to the database, bypass the application, and own everything. And the recommendation is to move to something more secured, lock down the credentials, rotate them, ensure they're eliminated and are not hard-coded into source and applications when working in the cloud. Now, what we've seen, and this is again kind of an average, but we've seen organizations able to take the core of those 4 recommendations and implement them in between 30 to 60 days. Okay, it doesn't mean they'll fix all their privileged account security issues in 60 days, but we've seen many organizations look at the key aspects of securing their privileged accounts in 30 to 60 days. So it's not it's not as hard as some people think. Okay, so we have 40 seconds, so I'll take less than that. CyberArk, for those of you who don't know us, we have more than 3,200 enterprise customers using our solution for privileged account security. We focus on large enterprises. We learn and we gain our experience from working with the largest organizations in the world. Over 1.5 million people in the world use our solution in our vaults. And we have been voted just last week as the number 7th best place to work in Massachusetts. That's for our US headquarters. And I forget what number we were in Israel. But again, it was a very nice, I think 17 or something like that. So I'll be happy to talk with you more later. And with that, I'll turn it over back to Michal. Thank you.